If I could give a piece of advice to somebody who wants to get sober, I would tell them it's not easy, but it's worth it. I needed alcohol and drugs to just go, fuck it, I'm doing it. Failing sucks, and I will have my emotional time with that. But it doesn't always mean you quit or that it's not right for you. It's you change the way you do it. I'm a man who wears not just this hat, but many hats. I'm a tradesman. I do modeling. I do fitness coaching. Going to school in about a week for something a little bit newer that I can't really disclose of yet. Yeah, I'm just a jack of all trades. I always have to be moving. It's something that where I have to always have a purpose. I'm on many missions. Mainly, I found a passion for health and wellness, where I've done a lot of research, and I have a mentor of my own who is helping me learn how to change people's lives in a positive manner, mentally and physically, because I think how we feel physically does translate how we feel mentally. And it's been working, and it's been such a joy to have positive response from my clients and just showing them that it doesn't always have to be so stressful to be healthy. Mm-hmm. In fact, it's the opposite. Immediate family, my mother and father were not drinkers at all. In fact, they were quite opposite of that. They kind of frowned upon it because the rest of my extended family, who I'm very close with, the relationship revolved around alcohol, around parties. I loved my family, both sides. And I realized as a child, it was just a normal part of existence. I was making drinks for my grandfather at a very young age, and then feeling like I wanted to fit in. Like this is part of who I am, because I must be, because this is my family. It's in my genes to drink. It's in our culture to drink. And so I don't remember my first drink, but I remember all the experiences and the feelings that came around that party scene, whether it was good or bad. I remember those feelings very profoundly, and feeling at one point in time, if you can't beat them, join them. Yeah.
How much do you think having like your family drink around you, which is very normal experience for so many people, how much do you think that like influenced your drinking?
At first, it was a sense of identity, and then it became almost a challenge to myself of how far I could go, how crazy I could be, how funny I could be, how in control I could even be with it. It was a challenge to even to a point connect with the family members over a drink, which is normal for some people. But I realized the way we did it was not necessarily normal. I remember I had an experience, I was just newly sober, and was at the cottage, and my grandfather graciously offered me a drink, and I said, I don't drink. And he said, what's wrong with you? It was like a reverse intervention, like I'm worried about you kind of thing, which kind of it's funny at the same time as baffling. And I remember going fishing right after just to get away from it. Went fishing, my dad was there, and I told him, he started laughing. He's like, that's just what he's like. He said, that's why I fish, because I need to get away from that too. Like, interesting. It started out to be, well, it's as a kid, you're so curious about it, and you have your first drink and you want to get hammered with your friends because it's fun. It's fun to do. It's fun to be silly and not feel the repercussions afterwards, especially at a young age. And then that goes into, it's like a social status, I guess you could say, of, having a nice glass of wine. There's an appearance, an image to go with that. And then it was to party at the same time. It was either that or to party. Like, let's get as fucked up as we can and just see where it takes us. And that leads to other things. And then it gets to a point, and this is something I've realized lately, and I've heard it a few times, I don't know where from, where it's an addiction when it stops becoming fun. You're still doing it and you're not having fun anymore. You don't enjoy it, but you're still doing it. And that got to a place with me where, again, I was trying to do it alone, and even at family events, drinking way more than everybody else was. And when it got noticed is when the lights started to go on in my head. I think so.
Yeah.
It was growing over a certain period of time. I had stopped doing drugs a few months before. Again, realizing that this isn't fun anymore. I'm just taking this in. This is just causing more havoc than anything else. I was at this cottage party and we were drinking, and I remember not feeling drunk. So it's not fun. I'm just drinking this shit. And then even the next morning, like all we weren't doing anything. The group, we weren't doing anything. We were just sitting there having more drinks, and I wasn't drunk. I wasn't having fun. And I'm just like, what are we doing? Like, this is boring. This is no longer serving what I thought it was supposed to be. Straight up cold turkey.
Really?
Nothing. I didn't want anything to do with it anymore. They say you don't do anything until you're ready. Not only was I ready, I was militant about it and trying not to alienate people, but really what happens is that you naturally alienate yourself. To me, I found that to be an asset because I realized that my friends, I care for them, and still are friends with today, but I still care for them. We have nothing in common. All we had in common was a drink or whatever else we were putting in our bodies. And for me, the isolation was part of it, being so militant about it. I was just not wanting to be around it, not wanting to be anywhere near where that behavior was active. I've been to bars since, just for like concerts or whatever, and I noticed even now, being so sensitive to it, that around, say 11 o'clock, I noticed the room gets stupider. Yeah. It's this layer that comes across, and that's when I go. And I'm a music lover, and I will stay for concerts. But if the music's not playing, and I feel that, I'm out. I'm done. Irish goodbye. Get me the fuck out of here. I know that nothing good will happen. There is nothing I'm going to be missing out on, and I'd rather go home and sleep and get a good night's rest. I don't care who comes with me. You stay. You fill your boots. I'm not doing this. And I was like that, and it's caused a lot of trouble with relationships and stuff like that, but I don't care. I just don't care. I've hit my limit, and I value myself more than any friendship. There's a couple layers to this. I had to be a dick about it sometimes because people were like, who is this new guy? It wasn't a new guy. It was the real me. I just peeled off this really shitty layer. And I was sick of feeling like shit. I was sick of my goals not being attained. Like, what was in the way? That was certainly in the way. And it's still, it takes some time for your mind to reset in order to drive yourself forward in your passions. But I also find too that when you say about, like, say people pleasing and stuff like that, I'm not a people pleaser at all. I'm not shitting on the program, but 12 steps, no. No, I think that is just another addiction. I think the 12-step program is another addiction. You're addicted to religion. You're addicted to something else where that validation is still there. And so people need that validation. For me personally, I don't want that kind of validation. My validation is me feeling much better about myself. That's it. It's nice to get recognition for it, and it's nice, but I don't care. Like, I don't preach my sobriety. I don't, first thing out of my mouth isn't that. Right. Which some cases, for people it is. It's not me. I am way better than that. My personality is very much one that, for whatever reason, I like to stand out. And sometimes that means even taking myself out of a situation. And I do that on purpose. I don't know why I do that. There's just something.
Get out of your comfort zone?
Definitely get out of my comfort zone, but even just, how do I say this? I always have to be different. I always have to be different. I'm the different guy in every group I'm in on purpose. It's not that it's fake by any stretch of the means, but I do find where I like to be sort of standing out. And in sobriety, it was definitely that. I was the only one in my group for a long time who wasn't drinking. And I like that idea of, I'm going to feel better than you in the morning. And But really, what I've really boiled it down to, that's just part of my personality that I've just kind of learned that that's what I'm like. Whatever you think of that or not,
Yeah.
I understand how that appears. But I definitely felt for a long time I had a stronger purpose than where I was currently at. When I got sober, it takes some time, I think, to readjust your brain, to rebuild your brain. But I found that over the course of time, this desire for knowledge, this desire to find my purpose and find the things that drive me, find the passion, pardon me, that keeps me away from these substances, is I need to be firing on all cylinders properly. And it's finding that joy rather than trying to replace it with that control of joy, which is drinking or drugs or whatever, right? Because it's lasting. That's the thing. It's lasting. It's not. It doesn't end after one night.
Right.
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 Yeah. That, but where I think needs to be clear is that it's not easy. Just because you remove alcohol and you feel better, it doesn't make anything easier. It makes it harder. You have to work at it, and there's potential. Sure, everybody has potential, but if you're not taking any step towards whatever your potential is, it's going to remain potential. It doesn't become an action until you actively do the hard shit. And that's taking risks. That's dealing with the reality of life. And that hurts. It hurts. If you learn to like that hurt, you'll be just fine. And that's the thing. People are afraid of pain. Not me.
Yeah.
Clearly. I'm not, and I enjoy it because I think pain will cause movement, as it always does. It causes movement, and it causes drastic movement. Yeah. But we realize that it's all going to come through growing pains. Once you learn to love that, it stops a lot of fear. Oh man, it's a lot of just taking a risk, like traveling alone, trying to work, how do I say, in an industry that's very tough, and dealing with the rejection that, say, modeling comes with every day, and dealing with the fact that it's not that you're not good enough, you're just not right for whatever it is, and doing that alone, learning how to cope with that. But just there's chances that you take the stuff that you normally wouldn't do, starting a business based on something you're an expert at, but realizing the value in which your knowledge is. That's scary. That's scary. And what else? It's just, I needed alcohol and drugs to just go, fuck it, I'm doing it.
Right.
Learning to do that without, it's amazing because it comes with a clearer mind of still the attitude that's right. It's like, fuck it, what do I have to lose? And you really weigh that out. And if you just do it anyways, you'll get something out of it. Whether you lose or win, you'll get something out of it. Yeah. And I've learned to fail and go, okay, it sucks. Failing sucks. And I will have my emotional time with that. But it doesn't always mean, failure does not always mean that you quit or that it's not right for you. It's you change the way you do it. Everybody does it differently of how they react to certain things that they can't control. Yeah. I as well have lost, oh God, just before COVID, in 2 years, I lost, I believe, was it 19 people whom I work with, all due to drugs, sicknesses, young men, younger men, mentors. And it was terrifying. Now, don't get me wrong, I came from an amazing family. My immediate family, were close to this day. We love each other, and it's very healthy. And I think sometimes my alcoholism and anything else was a bit of self-sabotage. But having lost so many people I was close with who I did this stuff with, who are my age, and getting to a point where I was sick and tired. When you're not sick and tired is when you're not ready to do things. You need to be sick and tired of it. And I was very fortunate it didn't affect me in a more physical way, but it was to a point where I was angry and going, what is happening? Why are we dropping like flies? And so even, starting something with a friend of mine who I was happy he got sober as well, to hopefully provide treatment, stuff like that for people in my trade and stuff like that who we've lost. And it was, that's like losing people and how you deal with it and it all hitting you. I was fortunate enough to have the capacity to deal with loss, but not everybody has that. And that's, I could see where that comes into the mathematics of our feelings and thoughts. Spend time with my daughters, watching them, play hockey and all this stuff, but filling myself with things that fulfill me. And to many people, they say, oh, you need a break, it's so much work, but I find joy in work. There's an art in work that I think brings a fulfillment that I found the drinking would bring in a way where it was this validation of self. And I found that keeping my mind occupied, learning, busy, trying to find that passion, brought the same results as that time. There's a certain point in the night when you're drinking where you're like, I hit the perfect note. I hit the perfect time. And you're always chasing that dragon. Everybody does with whatever, with whatever they got. But I found it in what I think is a very healthy way. And I don't think we should ignore that what we want to achieve, but it's how we get there. I remember this very profoundly to many occasions of I got to that certain point we spoke about of that I hit the note. How can I make this better? And how can I have more fun? How can I make this, how can I put extra exclamation points on this night or this moment right now? And realizing that it's not always going to get better. Sometimes that's the best point, and that's okay, because you can't remain at this high level. You can't. You have to slow down. There's anything I learned in fitness, and doing this is rest is almost more important than the stress itself. And yeah, there's a rat race, and I actively take time to shut down my phone, to rest, to take a rest day, and maybe just move a little bit, but nothing too stressful, because it seems like the rat race is really what brings other people's validation. So they're hustling so hard, and it's such a level of respect there where I'm going, that's not healthy. Like, that's stressful, and that's, people need to let off steam because they've piled up so much steam inside themselves trying to, be as busy as they can or whatever. And I think that promotes a lot of binging, right? Because we put ourselves through so much pressure, thinking we have to be this vagabond of some sort,
Yeah.
And I realize that's a lie. Yeah. It's a lie. There's nothing wrong with being normal. Everybody wants to be rich and famous and this and that, and obviously I'm trying to do modeling and stuff like that, but it's not about being rich and famous for me. It's just about doing something I love. But there's this drive to be rich and famous or this and that is just, it's okay to be normal. Yeah. It's actually really fulfilling. Well, I'm definitely different in that world. I'm not built like a model. I don't behave like a model. I'm not out for the attention, that most want and sometimes need to get, because you need to be noticed. I just go about my business. What sets me apart, which we spoke about earlier, is the fact that I don't drink. I will have my club soda. I'll be there, show face, and when I'm done, I'm done. A lot of times it's noticed, which is great because I'm the one not behaving like a moron.
Yeah.
And that proves that I'm serious about business rather than the party aspect. Some people love the party that comes along with it. It's a way to network, it's a way to kind of loosen up, and it proves that I'm serious about my business no matter what hour.
Mm.
And I think that speaks to my character. It's when I'm in work mode, which is that's what I'm at, even at a party for any fashion event, I'm still in work mode. I don't drink on the job. I don't drink at all, but I don't drink on the job, never have. That's something I don't agree with. So I'm on the clock, I don't do that. So it's easier for me because I have that always set in my head that I'm on the clock.
Right.
Anything I did before was my own time. Mm-hmm. And that's where it was not hard for me. Mm-hmm. It sort of drove me further into my focus. Yeah. Yeah. It's a big part of it now. It's kind of fun in that way because being sober, especially in a society that values drinking so much, like most of these events, most of the events are it's just about selling drinks. There might be a show that's going on. It's just to sell drinks. Let's be honest. I'm definitely against the grain for the norm of how everything functions. It seems. Yeah. I enjoy that. For me, was understanding my community, understanding where I came from, and how it hasn't served me. Like I said before, I was sick and tired, and joining a group just seems so repulsive to me. I don't love Christianity, and I know it's a big part of it, so nothing steered me clearer from it than that. And just the fact that I was thinking, like, I just need myself. That's all I need. I don't need the approval of anybody else but myself. That was the huge driver, was this is just for me. This isn't for anybody else, which had kept me away from a lot of these programs and stuff like that do work for people, and I get it. I get it. If you whatever works, works. For me, it was just this was just between me and myself. Yeah. And that's it. Yeah. It's all I needed. Well, I think if I'm to be real about it, it's 100% myself. If we're going to go sort of deeper into it, this might be a bit of a cliche answer, but my kids need to, and I've explained this to them too, I'm very honest with my children, is that I don't want to have any alcohol in my system. They need to look at me and A, see an example, and B, to feel safe. If there is any chance that my behavior is altered and they don't feel safe, because I didn't feel safe as a child in a lot of situations. I remember that feeling very, very profoundly, and going, I don't want my kids to feel that. I want them to look to me and go, there's my safe place. And it can't be just around them. It has to be throughout my normal behavior. That's a big driver for me as well. And my kids have never seen me under the influence, but now there's no possible chance there could be a mistake of that either. Right. Yeah. There's not one way to do it. You don't have to be a stick in the mud. You don't have to preach it to people. You just be the example. You don't have to think your life is going to be so drastically changed. It's not easy. You don't see rainbows the first day. It's hard. And it's okay to be hard. And we have to harden up and be disciplined. Discipline is such a big part of life that we shy away from, that I'm sick of that. I'm sick of it. So I don't like the idea of this floofy program and this floofy sort of community of validation that to me is just another addiction. It feeds a dopamine that we have to grow on a personal level rather than have people feed it to us. you can still be exactly as badass as you want to be, if not more so, than this self-realized um, goody person. You can do it in a badass way.
Yeah.
Yeah.